So I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I actually watch TV. I know in today's day and age, watching TV is taboo and we're not supposed to do it. Now, I have a rule. I only watch comedies and sports. I won't watch anything violent. I don't watch the news ever, ever, ever. Anyone that's still watching the news, I strongly suggest you get rid of that habit. But so last night I came in and I just flipped on the TV and they happened to have an episode of the Andy Griffith Show on. Black and white. Ron Howard's 5 years old, following his dad around. And I start to watch the episode, and it's the most sexist, inappropriate, I won't get into the details, but it was horrifically bad, would never fly in this day and age, and was so wildly inappropriate. But what does everybody say? Oh, well, that show was shot in the 50s, so they get a pass. Oh, it was acceptable back then to talk like that and to act like that. And, it wasn't malicious and it wasn't anything wildly negative, but it was so incredibly inappropriate. So we then get in the office today and I'm sharing the story, and we had a really, really interesting conversation. Just because that was acceptable at one point in time doesn't mean that it's okay to put that in rotation for reruns. How many episodes of the Andy Griffith Show were shot? I don't know. It's probably in the hundreds. They could have just taken this one episode out because it's so bad. It was so wildly inappropriate. They could have just taken this one particular episode and said, hey, we're going to run Andy Griffith reruns. We probably shouldn't run this particular rerun. And it made me think about, what are we doing in our practices that maybe used to be acceptable and it's still kind of on the borderline, but we don't necessarily need to have it in our practice. We don't need to have it in our daily lives. We don't need to have it as part of what we do, because you run the risk of offending some people, or you run the risk of looking less than sophisticated. And I know it's a bit of a stretch, Andy Griffith and sexism and should they have run the episode or not. But if I'm on the board at that TV station or channel, or if I'm an influencer there, I'm going to ask the programming director, what on earth made you think this episode was okay to air? So be really thoughtful about what you put out in the world and what you're willing to stand behind and what you're willing to stand for. And if you've got some old dated ideas, just like this old dated TV show that don't play anymore, don't play them anymore.